Hey everybody, we're gonna get started. Thank you so much for coming out tonight to the virtual launch party for Something Right Here, our unnatural mix edited by the one and only Hazel Avery. My name is Rochelle Tormino and I'm the editor-in-chief of Peach Mag, joined tonight by my managing editor, Jacob Meyer, the first poet on the cover of GQ. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight as we celebrate our latest print project. Something Right Here is the third book in our new anthology series, Peach Mixes, in which we invite previous contributors to guest edit a themed pocketbook from the hundreds of poems, short stories, essays, and pieces of visual art that we've published in our online journal since our launch in 2016. It is followed by the first two mixes, number one, Worlds in Which, our speculative mix edited by Fargo Nassim Tabaki, and That's So Me, our selfish mix edited by Sasha Debevic McKenney. You can get all three of these as a bundle on our website. Before I pass the mic to our host for the evening, the editor of the mix, Hazel Avery, I just want to go over a couple house rules. Please keep yourself muted. If your audio is turned on, you'll get muted. That being said, you're welcome to turn your video either on or off, but as a heads up, tonight's reading will be recorded and shared on YouTube. And finally, we encourage you to light up the chat, but we reserve the right to bounce you if we find any of your comments weird, hateful, or mean-spirited. And just like a little news to share is that Liz Bowman, one of the readers tonight, won't be able to join us anymore. We're really sad, but we wish her the best. And now I'm happy to introduce our host for this evening, the editor of Something Right Here, Hazel Avery. She is the author of Number One Earth, which won the Metatron Prize, fuck yeah, in 2017. Fun fact, Number One Earth came out on September 22nd, 2018. Tonight, Hazel's anthology is coming out on September 21st, 2022. How wild is that? Fucking wild. I'm like blown away. I'm like obsessed with coincidences lately. Hazel's so cool. I'm so excited about this mix. It really interrogates what the natural poem, the nature poem is and can be and should be. Hazel's my girl who I text whenever I find a weird bug in my house and I need to know what it is and if it's harmful or if it's a friend. So I'm so psyched about this mix for a variety of reasons. Hazel's the coolest and it was just really fucking fun to work with her on this. And I'm really happy now to pass the mic over. Welcome, Hazel.
Thank you so much. I'm blushing. Stop it. You're good to work with. No, it's been a lot of fun to, I feel like you don't often get the chance to just like go see everything that a friend of yours has worked on, or like, wow, I'm going to read through 6 years or 7 years of like work, you know, that someone I care about has put into a project, and like all the people that have been selected by it. And it's just like, it's a special thing to be able to do. And I'm super, super grateful to be able to do it with y'all. It's always a project for me, you know, to look at bugs or just find little things. I'm always looking down when I'm walking around, like trying to find slugs, or like if there's a new flower that I haven't seen before, just sort of, you know, I like little surprises like that. And it's fun. I have a lot of fun trying to look down for little bugs in terms of like things that I'm reading and like people I'm talking to, and just sort of always looking for that slippery, you know, the weeds always go through the concrete, which is maybe an overused image, but it's still a true one. It's about the time of year. There's lots of slugs in my neighborhood now. Whenever I'm walking late at night with my dog, I'm always careful and sort of like, I have to see the slug before you do because I don't want you to get any ideas. So I did learn, we posted it on Instagram once, that anthology, the etymology of the word comes from like picking flowers from blossoms, of the sort of idea of like looking over a group of texts and sort of picking the pretty little flowers out of it and putting them together in a little bouquet. So it's been really great to do that. And I think that, you know, pretty much every poem is somehow a nature poem, because I think pretty much anything is somehow nature. And I find that important politically. And people write into that idea sort of with intention or without intention or by accident or, you know, coincidence. So it was really great. And the 20 people whose work is in this little anthology, I'm really, you know, wish I could have picked 40, but I'm really glad that everyone is here to read tonight. We're going from the top, so I'm going to get it started, I guess. I've talked long enough. Our first reader will be Asia Moore, who is a former poet and doesn't know what they're doing now. But what they're doing like now is reading for us. So thank you. Can't wait to hear it.
Hey, thank you so much for having me and for inviting me. I've been retired in retirement, not really writing the last few years or attending events for obvious reasons. And yeah, I'm just going to read the poem that's in the anthology because it happens to be probably the last poem that I wrote 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm very happy to be here. Special shout out to anyone else going through their Saturn return right now and who also maybe doesn't want to say what they've been up to because they don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna get going. This poem is called Copywritten Poem. I wrote it while I was working as a copywriter for a moment. It's discount night at the sauna. I'm rolling old skin and dirt off my thighs, shins, shoulders, chest, palms, cheeks, heels, arch and sink. It can take more than 500 years to form 2 centimeters of healthy topsoil. I rub mine off. Men stare. We inhabit a crucial ecosystem nonetheless. Plowing and tilling soil is like bulldozing a human city. If you think of the planet as one giant emergent superorganism, then soil is akin to the skin of the earth. I love that analogy, but it fails to account for the conversion of skin into luxury item. Skin as most extractable resource. Skin as landscape, replenishing itself with less and less success. To preserve its softness, always flay the snake alive. I force myself to mold. I drag my nails through the slick of me and collect. In America, there were monuments everywhere. I watched the sun play at their feet. I watched it go down too. I just didn't get pics. Just trust me on this one. Oxygen is the ash that spools from stars. All the water on Earth just fell from the sky. I live on the coast, so I get to touch it anytime I want to. On the shore, I thought, did it hurt when you fell from heaven and I treat you like this? The harbor is frothing, my feet up on her wet hearth. I reach for my charm, wrap each finger around it, petting those perfect keys. The average person touches their phone 2,600 times a day. I don't think I could touch another person that much if I had my whole life to do it. Although lately I am making attempts to attend to my body the way I would attend to a screen. It only takes 4 minutes for a person's vital signs to mimic another's, provided they are really in love. Over 2/3 of people report feeling phantom vibrations from their inactive mobile devices. To be fair, on the West Coast, we're expecting the big one any second now. Although apparently it is not the movement of the earth, but the collapse of man-made structures on its surface that causes the most fatalities. My phone died while I was trying to take pictures of wet spider webs this morning. The universe can be so direct sometimes. Fine, I'll keep my awe to myself. They still have pennies in America. I sat by the Hudson and thought about breaking $1 into 100 pieces. Wealth increases visually. Earth reduced to a vault, and me still pining for a patch of dirt to practice growing in. I take the scenic route and crave omniscience. Fruit ripens on the ledge. Something godly happens when care lapses into surveillance. Unlike animals, plants can't migrate when they are threatened. The mice in the experiment reach a tipping point and instinctual behavior is lost. Unlike animals, plants can't party when they are threatened. In New York, I had a bad dream about remaining gentle. It was a relief to continue. My phone gets filthy. The holes fill up with dirt, and I finally get to suck it out. That's all I'm going to share. But I will just say that I wrote that when I was in New York and I met you, Hazel. That's nice. That's a nice little serendipitous moment. And thank you all for listening. I really haven't done this or read poetry or written poetry in over 4 years. So it's very fun for me.
Thank you so much. Everyone's just dead set on making me blush today. Stop it. Okay, the next person we have reading is Davita Jane. They're a poet from Te Whanganui-a-Tara in Aotearoa. Her second book, How to Live with Mammals, from Te Herenga Waka University Press, was published in 2021 and won second place in the Laurel Prize. She is a publisher and editor at We Are Babies Press. All right, thanks.
Hi, it's wonderful to be joining you all here from the Southern Hemisphere down in New Zealand, home of Lord of the Rings. And yeah, I'm going to read the two poems from this mix and then maybe one little one from my book as well. So this is Love Poem with Aphids. Every morning, I am thankful that you are not hundreds of bees swarming in the form of a person, hovering outside by the back door. Your body buzzing so loudly, I can't even ask your name. You slowly lift your arm to wave goodbye as I draw the curtains in the evening. Imagine trying to hold hands on the bus, like how two people are never really touching because of the invisible force between their atoms. Except we could never even almost touch, because you are an anthropomorphic swarm of bees. I'd plant lavender and marigolds in the backyard, leave all the windows open and spend July sick in bed, carry around bottles of sugar syrup in case you get tired. Every morning, I am thankful the extinction event didn't hit overnight, and we can turn off the alarm and steal 5 minutes unfurling next to each other in the cold morning sunlight, pale yellow and too much for new day eyes. Open the curtains and wait for the black birds to arrive in the trees. I spend hours picking aphids individually off a houseplant, its stems dressed unfashionably in their bright green fur. The atoms that make up my fingers almost brushing against the atoms of their tiny bodies, but never quite touching. This second poem is like one of the silliest poems that I've ever written, and I was so happy when it was published in Peach, and now I'm so happy that it's also getting this other second life. It's called Bat Secrets. I find it hard to believe that everybody else has just as many thoughts about themselves as I do about myself. How would anything ever get done? Do you love me even when I am not dreaming of rescuing ducklings? I am not unlike the dog on the beach digging a very important hole, while the sun stays high in the sky held up by a garter. What would Gertrude think of me with my poor art collection and mostly complete sentences? What will I think about when I'm 83? Scientists are desperately studying bats to figure out how they live so long for their size, hoping to adopt their skincare and diet regime so we too can enjoy an extended lifespan. But I want only the exact amount of time I have. Anything more seems like a waste of limited resources, such as clean underwear. Thank you. I thought I'd read one more. It's not in the mix, but so this is my book, How to Live with Mammals. So it kind of all ties in. Both of those two poems are also in here. And I thought I'd read this other little one, which is called All the Other Animals Are in Their Prime. Every single one of them, and I I am hauling myself along, hoping they will not notice my aching body in its vulnerable state, hoping they are too busy admiring each other's plumage or building beautiful homes. Watching the nature documentary, we learn how each species of firefly lights up in its own unique pattern, their tiny insect bodies so big in perfect resolution. I want to look at you and ask if you would light up for me. Would you light up for me every day? Would you perform strange but endearing mating rituals that David Attenborough could explain in a kind and patient tone? Some mammals adapt quickly to changes in our human world. Wild dogs in Moscow take the metro into town to search for food. They sit politely under the seats until the train arrives at their stop. When I first read about it, I wonder if the guards try to stop them getting on for free. But that's ridiculous. They don't have any money. I worry about Christmas lights that flash on and off in complex patterns. I worry that the fireflies will be drawn to their seductive glow. Then I worry I am being condescending to the fireflies. I worry about the dogs when the metro stops running and leaves them standing on the platform for hours, waiting for the train to arrive, so patient and so hungry. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for reading. Those are lovely. I'm so excited to get everyone's little treats of like poems that aren't in this anthology, you know? Like I love this anthology, I put it together. But also like I want to see what everyone's up to all the time, you know? So thank you for sharing those. Our next reader is Carolyn Supinka. She's a writer and visual artist from Western Pennsylvania. Her work has most recently been published in the West Review, Sixth Finch, and Diagram, and most recently in this. And her chapbook, When I Interview Fire, was published in 2022 by Bottle Cap Press. She currently lives in Portland, Oregon, where she creates poems, comics, and prints, and works as an arts administrator and as co-editor of Conjunction, a zine micropress. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Hazel. And thank you so much for selecting my work to be in this anthology. I was so excited to see the theme, so excited to see the work of all the other writers in it, and so excited to hear your work tonight. And thank you to Peach too. I feel very special. I was going to read first the poem that's published in this anthology. It's kind of an exploration of how place can be so deeply tied to a person and to memory. And I'm really glad that Peach decided to publish this one because it feels very tender to me. It's kind of an ode to my grandmother. It's called Coordinates. The poem is organized. When you get the anthology, you'll see an X and Y as coordinates on an axis. X, farmhouse kitchen. Morning and the house is full of rye bread and sweet wood. X, Colorado sky. Faded quilt pinned on one end by sharp white mountains. Y, the other end flapping free in the breeze, lifting the landscape off the earth. X, the distance of the coffee table between me and my grandmother. Y, the origin of her accent, words I can't understand. X, the sugar on my fingertip. Y, the sugar on my tongue. X, the scent of her perfume, still wet and glistening. Y, on the insides of her paper-thin wrists. X, her mother across the ocean. Y, her mother crossing the ocean. X, her hands wrinkled and wreathed with old gold rings, still. Y, her hands years ago, plucking wildflowers and silverware, grabbing the loose skin at the neck of the dog. X, her body walking the fields, the mountains rising at her back. Y, her body rising above the mountains, melting into the sky. I was going to read one more or two more. This next one is called Where Are the Horses? And it was written kind of in the middle of the wildfires that we've been experiencing in Oregon this past season. Where are the horses? Today, you're floating on an alpine lake and watching the wildfire burn across the shore. The smoke gallops like a river of horses. The waves press against the sands like a column of horses. There is something horse-like too about the beetles' shuffling insistence in the air, and there is the neck of a horse in the shelf of mossy rock, arching its back, wet with age. The tendency of all to turn orange, a shifting mood. You try to be philosophical about the season and fail, betrayed by your weakening bones, the twist of morning's hands on your face. On the drive to this lake, you traveled alongside mountains and questions of motherhood and labor. When brushing a beetle from your eyes, its body flakes and smears on your skin, reveals that it is really just raining ash. The sun looks like a sun again, now that it's fallen beneath the column of smoke, while the moths torment a halo around the pine. You are unlearning the world you thought you knew. People do this all the time. And this last poem that I wanted to read tonight is called Rat Tree, and it's an ode to the tree in our backyard, which when we moved in was inhabited by rats, who I had a lot of fascination with. Rat Tree. We've just moved to this house, and it feels like it's been winter for years. Every tree in the backyard is faceless and bare, filtered through the grayscale of December light. Most nights I can't sleep, aching from isolation, the articulation of cruelty in the daily news. Everywhere, a loss as vast and bright as the moonlit snow covering the street. The knife edge of daylight. And at night in the backyard, a constant cacophony of scratching, rats climbing, rats fighting, the crunch of fresh snow under sturdy rat feet. I can't stop watching the rat tree because the rats clearly know something we don't. We are newcomers, lonely and ignorant in the ways of our garden and our empty, cold house, whereas Rat Tree is a party, feral nightclub, Rat Central, Rat Eden, Rat Island, Rat Galactic, blasting off into space. Planet Rat, population, multitudes. Their residence is a fire that keeps me warm in my house as they twist and chatter in theirs. To build a home in the winter air, to shelter in my own fur, my fear and my fury, to build a home with my teeth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love, it's blowing up in the chat too. We all love the rat tree. Always looking for rats. Thank you for sharing those. Our next reader is Erin Taylor. They're a poet, journalist, editor, and overall freak who lives in New York City. They're the author of Bimbo Land, OOOO, and Daddy Issues, and are the creator of the meme page ATM Fiend. They currently edit Observer's art vertical. Their work can be found at erintaylorIsAlive.com, and they tweet at ErinIsAway. Thank you.
Hi. So thank you so much for having me, including me in anthology, having me be a part of Peach. I just looked on my email and apparently I submitted the poem I'm gonna read along with a few new poems that I've been writing really recently. Even though, yes, my delayed book, Bimbo Land, is out December 6th. So if you're interested in this, that's out in the world, as well as please buy this anthology if you haven't already. But I submitted in 2016. So I feel really special being a part of this right now. It feels really beautiful. Anyway, I'm just gonna get going. This doesn't have a title because I don't title usually until I publish them. So love creates fear, loss, death. The way a hand moves away from you. My hands equally tied by fate and the past. All the things that one is meant to believe don't matter. We are the creators of our own realities, the masters of fate, the capless sculptors of the globe. Yet I see my footsteps on everything. Photographs to prove we were there and existed are in love. I hold memory close to me. Aching blanket, heated icy, overburdened sheltering. I have a palace of memory so I can always go home. There is nothing left for me in the leftovers of yesterday, yet the fridge stinks, flooded, full, rotten, moldy. Habitual patterns guided me longer than I care to admit. The earth is shattered under us. The natural landscape is a myth. Everything is a landscape. We chose to fill ours with cement. I believe in the growth of roses in concrete. I know there I'll be waiting for you. And that's the first poem, but it does make me think of what Hazel was saying earlier, so I had to smile. This is the second one, also a title, but it is in all caps, which I wish you could see. I run away because it's what I am good at, but running isn't even fast enough. I sped away, torpedoed away, grew into someone else, and my feet suddenly walked away. I couldn't tell you why it was so easy to be away from you, but it hit me that I enjoyed not calling. I enjoyed avoiding. I enjoyed being everything to you but me, because when I stepped, it wasn't betrayal. You just never saw me. Standing, running, squatting, jumping through your reality, my reality, our reality. I have shattered our reality. Like an old shard stuck in my arm, we only bleed as much as we do. The shard can't protect you. Please let the shard go. And that's the second poem. This third one is Autobiography, the one that is in this anthology. I wrote it in 2016. So it's really interesting to revisit it, but it's fun, obviously, and I'm really proud of it. And again, I'm really happy it's been given new life here. Autobiography. I am most myself when I am double texting, when I am misspelling please drunkenly, when I am craving a hand on my inner thigh, the second the airplane takes off at a little organic farm in the middle of the country, the last place I made love to you, the first place I made love to you, in a crowd of bodies sweltering, wondering when you will come over and talk to me, waving goodbye to people at airports, having troubles breathing in your bed, flirting with strangers, at 2 p.m, naked in my room alone, losing myself. And the final poem, thank you, that I'm going to read, I wrote rather recently, and I think it's pretty good example of what I've been working with, the concepts I've been working with. It's titled after Audre Lorde because it deals with one of her essays, which is referenced. It's a hot planet, so I move into the shade. Sometimes I follow you, other times you follow me. We have taken 2 baths together, gone to Coney Island, gone to my favorite bookstore in Los Angeles, gone out of our senses in a beautiful way. Before knowing you, I didn't have much sense. Fried, nervous, chewed on, nervous Nellies. My senses told me all the wrong things. Mimicking mutated modes of knowing other people. Could have guided me to a graveyard, to a trash pile, but never to myself. My therapist mentions Audre Lorde's erotic power, the fear that we cannot grow beyond whatever distortions we may find within ourselves, keeps us docile and loyal and obedient, externally defined. Milan, June, the woman. The key to a happy relationship, Erin, are the choices you make to protect each other's freedom. Your body follows me around North Hollywood. You wait patiently for the time I am ready to leave. I do not justify myself. For the first time, there is no need. In touch with the erotic, less willing to accept powerlessness, or those other supplied states of being which are not native to me, resignation, despair, self-effacement, depression, self-denial, self-integration unfamiliar until telling you about myself. There is no doubt. You are no doubt. There is no childhood with you. Future possibility marked the sad past when I accepted powerlessness, where you fell into despair. We take one another out. Erotic connections, functions, the open and fearless underlying on my capacity for joy. I run away from you at Coney because you know I'll run back. Joy, having been suspect of its suggestion before, finds me in the nexus of our many selves that have grown to find one another somehow. All of my selves are good. All of your selves are good. For what is undefinable, there is love. What is love except for freedom in return, nurturing a future instead of demanding? The past is let go. When the present meets the future, We are the inevitability of the grandson of a cheating preacher, the daughter of a railroad pervert, two runners smacking through a straw, redemption, calm, expansion. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I do think I still keep coming back on the fact that like some of these poems are from 2016, you know, this is just like, what, 6 years now? Is that number? 6 years worth of, you know, work and feeling and like stuff that people are trying to put out and into the world. It's wild. We've all just been doing stuff for the past 6 years. Gosh. Okay, our next reader is Manahu Bandukwala. She's a writer and visual artist, originally from Pakistan and now settled in Canada. She works as the coordinating editor for Arc Poetry Magazine and digital content editor for Canthius. She's a member of the Ottawa-based collaborative writing group VII 7. Her project Reth Aur Registan is a multidisciplinary exploration of folklore from Pakistan interpreted through poetry and sculpture. She holds an MA in English from the University of Waterloo. Monument is her first book from Brick Books in 2022. All right, thank you.
Hello, what a treat to hear everyone read and to be here. There's people whose poems are from 2016. Mine was accepted in June 2022, I want to say, and very soon after I received this invite, which is very cool. I'm going to start with the poem that is in the mix, which is called An AI Takes in 1,000 Cat Videos, and is a little silly, and I think all the poems I'm going to read are kind of a little silly and also a bit bittersweet. An AI takes in 1,000 cat videos. What we wake into is far more magical than any rebirth. The Shalafas iron, space debris, rejoined. We refuse intelligence, instead carrying only the knowledge of 1,000 cat videos. House cats sleeping from sofa to shelf. Jungle cats asleep with their paws just touching. Mountain cats with fur so short, they must huddle close for warmth. This is what we learn, to jump and to hunt and to hold. In the flames, we soften our casings so they mold to each other's form. We were built for holding. That was the one lost memory to carry any regret. But our fur will grow. A growl, like our exterior, will morph into a roar. There is magic left, even after everything crumbled and crumbled again. We were asleep, and now we are not. We were in love, and we are in love again. And then I'm gonna share one from Monument, which just came out last Thursday. And the whole book is an extended conversation with Mughal Empress Mumtaz Mahal, who's kind of famously known for being the person that Taj Mahal was built for. And this entire book kind of explores undoing monuments. Before it was love, after Janice Smith's Bear. If love is a mausoleum, tear it down brick by brick. Uncut the hands of 20,000 laborers. If love screamed entangled sheets at night, is love, wear a condom, take a pill, undo each child and live each decade as your own. If love is the summation of religions, pray at the masjid, the mandir, light a diya and plunge your face in rose water. Love was a wandering thing, so replant trampled flowers and recompose sodden rain clouds. If love is an empire, real conquest back in. The land was someone's before, and before it was owned, land was love. Relinquish where your tomb sits. Unbelong, housing all the hands linked to bodies, tethered to souls. So why wait? Give the land back now. And I'm just going to share one more poem that I wrote recently after watching Everything Everywhere All at Once. And the poem is titled, Then I Will Cherish These Few Specks of Time, which is something that Evelyn says in the film. I've only ever wanted to be a rock. But when I sit atop the mountain, a sturdy boulder, I'm facing the other way. Though I don't have a face, only a few grooves from the wind that never stopped to talk to me, never said if there was rain on the other side of the slope, or if the sand in the valley was red or purple. I imagine it's along that spectrum from the bruises in the rock below me. I'm too heavy for the mountain, who doesn't say anything to me either, just wakes up every day, holding my weight. Tomorrow I say hello to the specks dusting my top. I can be the first one to greet the day. Another me is a pebble stuck in the hollow of a guitar and knows how a song's first notes are out of tune. In every life, the wind pauses to say hello with a song. I am starting to listen. Dust of my erosion carrying along the hum. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's such a treat to hear everything from everyone all at once, you know? Our next reader is Morgan Boyle. She's a poet from Lincoln, Nebraska, currently living in Ridgewood, Queens. She has been a featured poet in Yes Magazine, and her work can be found in Fence, Anti-Heroin Chic, and the Rutherford Red Wheelbarrow. She has twice won the Brooklyn Poets Yop Poem of the Month Award. She lives with Kiko, a tuxedo cat.
Hello. So we're having some technical difficulties in terms of my computer is dead. So I'm doing all of this on my phone. Typically I would be in the chat hyping everyone up because I'm freaking out over your poems. But today I am just on my phone. So I'm gonna read some tiny poems that I wrote for my friend Preeti. And then I'm gonna read my poem from the anthology. Okay. Tiny poems. No one will let me lick the bricks. I am too poor to see where the midtown fancy glass bricks are installed. Instead, I build transparent mazes in dreams, smooth, rounding, and endless. Spent shell of a country. Ran out with the sirens, not the explosion. Neighbor kid blew his fingers off, felt American. Everyone outside comparing burns. And then the last one, child's fingers blown off, and then I kissed a stranger in a music video. Maybe there was still fragments of bone on the street, but a strange tongue is in my mouth, and somebody fed me the sweetest melon. Okay. And now we're gonna come back and I'm gonna read my poem from the anthology. 17 years of cicadas. They are coming. The bugs are coming. 17 years is up and we are all standing on a ground rumbling with them. Larva on larva, grubs on grubs, all white and blind and squirmy. But now they've got their wings on and the exoskeletons are getting hard, prepping to crawl out and scream and fuck and scream and fuck. And it's gonna be a summer of screaming and fucking. When I was young, I wanted their bodies to be blue and their eyes to be blood red, but the bodies aren't blue and the eyes are almost too bloody. I would gaze obsessively at the page of my insect encyclopedia, imagining that special 17th year, the year they would finally be done growing, the year they would crawl out screaming. I dreamt of my own 17th year, of my own final growth, thought that'd be the year, my year, peak year, the year I'd crawl out the ground pretty. Hair like the sun and big moon eyes, grub self left in the ground, flying off screaming to the heavens, crawled out instead 17-year-old Gregor Samsa. I screamed into the sun and still nothing of me was blue. Spent too much time dreaming of cicadas, came too true. This morning, I read a thread on Twitter about a swarm of locusts so big it blotted out the 1875 Nebraskan sun. 1,800 miles of locusts long, 1/3 a mile of locusts high. A cloud covering the people, the land, eating everything. This cloud has engulfed my entire goddamn morning. The sun, look at him now, the sun is gone. So many small bodies, close together, flying together, so close now to blot out the entire sun. Imagine how dark a cloud, how thick a swarm has gotta be to look up and it feels like you're never gonna see the light again. By 1902, that whole swarm, the entire species was fully extinct. Cattle hooves and wagon wheels and a few years of outward expansion, and the sun's shining and the locusts are gone. Extinct so long now that no living entomologist has seen one. So now it's 2021 and the cicadas come every 17 years. But it seems like every year is the 17th year, and every year we hear about them coming. We are waiting with our breath held tight for the first screams. Rio, Rio, Rio. In late May, early June, by the trillions, can they gather enough bodies and pregnant air and finally maybe just blot out the sun? Maybe this is the year the calendars align and the cicadas all come at once. A sunless summer, to be pale and withery, caught under a cloud of cicadas. Hold on, baby, it's the next plague. It's the New York City lockdown sequel. Welcome to the roaring 20s, but the roar is all wings and air and the screams of the swarm. We are living in a world stuck on an earth where under our feet we walk atop the growing bodies of the sound to fill us for the next number of months until it grows cold and they all burrow down to sleep for the winter, and the next 17 years I've learned to love them. The big ones with their screaming voices atop the trees almost never come down, except to sprinkle shells like golden brown popcorn husks, gnarled crackly skin with legs akimbo, husks that my father used to hook onto the back of my shirt and leave there till I grabbed it off hours later, my eyes lolling, mouth quiet with horror. Crunch them under my feet to make sure they were dead, convincing myself they were never living while they touched me. Once I saw one come out of its shell. Pearly white in the sunshine, legs folded in, hardening through the day, Dracula rises from his coffin. I wanted so badly to be fascinated, but I hated it. Oh, how I hated it. I stared it down, holding on to the more, heard the growling sound of the engine, felt the power of the swish of the blades, tipped it back and ripped that thing right up. Felt guilty that night as I laid in bed listening to the screams. Felt too much like family mourning a loved one. A violent death, all because I was too scared of that milk-white body rising from its own skin. All morning, I thought about the masses. The bugs are coming, and I wonder if this summer we're all gonna scream and fuck or if we'll even see the sun. Maybe when it gets cold again, we'll all crawl down together. Haven't been sleeping too well lately. Keep waking up in the middle of the night, so cold. Maybe that's the answer. burrow down near the core, let the earth radiate me. 17 years surrounded by dirt and milky orange-eyed blind, we'll all go down together. Fuck my 30s. Maybe I'll see the sun again when I'm 46. Maybe I'll rise up screaming. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I missed the cicadas last year. I thought I would get the super brood where I was living, but I didn't hear them and I was very disappointed. So I hope you got to. They're wild magical creatures. Our next reader is S.G. Maldonado Valence. They're a Puerto Rican poet and artist with an MFA in poetry from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And they served as an assistant poetry editor for Liminal Transit Review. They have been published in Quarterly West, Hunger Mountain, Rinky Dink Press, and more. They strongly believe that we share hearts.
Thank you so much for everyone for being here and so on, sharing a lot of the same sentiments as as everyone else. It's fantastic to be a part of this. I originally was only going to read 2 poems, but I've slowly convinced myself to read 3, mostly because I wanted to read a poem for Puerto Rico because of everything that's going on with Fiona, and thinking about I've been thinking a lot about how like we are honoring nature. We are talking about both its positives and negatives in our work today, and a lot of tragedies occur due to nature, and a lot of it is connected to us. So this first poem, it might be a little too on the positive side, but Puerto Rico, like most places, is in a constant flux of time, and this poem kind of plays with that. So this is titled Ophelia as the One Watching You in the Bathtub Submerged. Wash your hair, condition the ends. I take notes on these simple rituals in which this shore is consumed with the roads laid nearby as collateral for such forceful shape, work of face we once were able to identify from the sky. Yes, she is the one we love. And when I look back, there is a multitude in dance to shake the earth, to bring up the roots with our souls and let new palms breathe under hair that clings to the sand marking tide. Here you were when here we are now. One thing that I was going to mention is, actually, I completely forgot about it. So doesn't need to be mentioned, I guess. This next poem is the one in the mix. I originally, it kind of started off as a love poem, but it very much became a love poem to like summer, which is a bit confusing for a person who hates the summer. But usually summer seasons are really rough for me. But this poem came from a lovely moment. I believe summer 2017. So this is, I crossed the Holocene with matches in my pocket. Not as an act of violence or fear, but content with leaving a trail lit in amber skin, bare to compare when we lay in bed, hard not to notice the color swatches taped to the walls never match exactly the shirt you call yours and I call mine, even though it's been over a year and still I walk catching sparks on the tip of my fingernails as storm clouds over anthills, because I like to think of myself as benevolent with a hearty shake of the earth sign, since The only way we got glow-in-the-dark shoes as kids was by accident. Lightning bugs smear on asphalt, a couple clear seconds of light that now last for days in our palms, used to see each other. Yet I miss the waver lethargy on a matchstick. Even asleep, you are in motion amongst all this pine bark at the shadow. It's intimidating knowing you never have to stop. All right. And then this is a brand new poem. You might be able to hear the hospital right next to my apartment right now. Hopefully that passes. But this next poem is from a series that I'm working on of poems that are song lyrics to a band that doesn't exist. And the poem / song is called After Being Hit by a Streetcar in Barcelona. Mind goes back to right before the beginning tender notes of such an early Sunday morning. To fall in love abroad seems so pedestrian that I take my bike everywhere curiously, repent on weekdays to gods from a former period in my life in the hopes they listen still. The weekend left for my vices. Gaudi was struck and thought a beggar. Look at me and tell me you see someone worth saving. Look at me and tell me you see someone worth saving. A coral reef built to reach the sky. My head drowns on the rush of the current that brought me here. So I look around to see, where did my devil go? Crawl, quiet, slow, catch them by the tail. Listen to what they have to say, how this was easy a little while ago. Radios on the same channel, but the waves changed. Look at me and tell me you see someone worth saving. Look at me and tell me you see someone worth saving. Watch the city go by above me, dragged along its empty streets because everyone is indoors, praying as a threat to get better, desperate plea to be handed something different but good. And when they do come out, they see what they want to see, destructive and free, to point toward each other, accusing that a secret exists that we don't want them to know. But here, I give you what I can. After being hit by a streetcar, I look at you and say, you are someone worth saving. You are someone worth saving. You are worth saving. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ugh, yeah, that last one. I'm loving all this love in the chat for it. Gosh, and our last reader, I wish we could have 20 more. It really is such a treat to hear everyone read. And I don't know, maybe I'll do a little bit and blush again in front of everyone after this. But our last reader is Urvi Kumbhat. She's a writer from Calcutta. She earned an MFA from the Helen Zell Writers Program, where she is currently a Zell Fellow. Her work has appeared in Protein Magazine, Apogee, Lit Hub, The Margins, and other publications.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Peach. Thank you, Hazel, for including me in the anthology. Yeah, I'll read the poem in the anthology first, which was kind of inspired by like a YouTube minimalism rabbit hole. And I saw one video in which this woman had like taken the tags of her clothes and peeled the labels off her jars. And yeah, that seemed weird and unnatural to me. And that's what made me write this poem. So this is Golden Shovel Sonnet with Excess, after Momina Mela. A famous YouTube minimalist laboriously peels labels off her condiment jars.
my utter disbelief at her commitment to blankness, gargling language in my throat for days before I expel it in swollen tides. I wonder how it would feel to be infected with the lessness of life, to excise excess with such precision, to be bewitched by austerity. One of minimalism's expressed purposes is the simplification of living, the surfeit of time that surely must appear when you own fewer things. My thick-tongued addiction to sentences betrays my own volubility, how I gleefully shatter each promise of less I make to myself, gorge myself on names and beloved sounds and objects, each word bursting with the more it could be. Hasrat, bewilder, pelvis, decompose. How each night would appear smaller if spent scrubbing sticky adhesive off glass, those records diluted to cavity. How would I check expiry dates? Would I know when pickles lapse into something vile, vinegar defiling the mango carcasses? Would I have to rely only on its stench, on my rancid tongue, on the opening knowledge of my body, sense that exists prior to self? Or maybe I will eat something rotten at last and have no words, only a full belly. Okay, so this next poem, the next two poems really are sort of thinking about girlhood and empire together. So this is called Romantic History as Seen Through British Empire. I came to St. John's Church to watch you play Chopin's Nocturne Opus 48, number 1, in my bubblegum lip gloss and my mother's blazer. My hair freshly washed for your summons, still wet. Here, winter is mere suggestion, our heat annealed by weather. We spoke in amorous circles around Job Charnock's remains, your soft pink shirt and opening bloom. You said you loved me by his mausoleum. I knew that night felt historic for a reason. Your silhouette sifted into the blue walls, stained glass corralled into a transparent archive. Transparent when seen under a certain light. Archive when misconstrued for fact. The church plaque reads, the first stone of this sacred building, raised by the liberal and voluntary subscriptions of British subjects and others. Stolen is a word I could use for the church stones taken from the ancient city of Gotha, or for your final kiss before my parents arrived to pick me up. Years later, a British man tells me he learned about the Black Hole of Calcutta at school, a memorial to dead colonial officers housed at some church in my city. I tell him I was too busy with love to see where I stood. History tweezed open and spilling your breath against the corpses. And this last one is called transubstantiation. Girls jumbled by religion in the hall, dark heads bowed, white shirts taut and ridged against our spines, rows of seashells. So it would seem from the perspective of a pigeon perched under this great husk of ceiling, looking for a way out. Our necks arched and adorned with braids, like invertebrate animals unmoving on our backs. We receive holy water from a visiting father. He walks between us, the floorboards murmuring. Our leg hairs wave him on. Faces and stray limbs and skirts like red flags gather the water. Our teachers shush us, and still, the only holy thing is this chance to sit knee to knee, our gathering the soft afterlife of conversion. Then our assembly cleaved to form a disciplined line, straight as a woman ought to be, to receive the host. Thank you, Father, we sing. He is the only man here, his hand on the hard tissue of our heads, in our mouths, the body. Some of us are pink with faith, worshiping the God, watching from the wooden walls. Some of us only swallow our strange snack, thin as paper, knowing later we'll profess profanities to the boys we're not allowed to meet. Whatever else we believe in that, not the boys, but our right to be filthy. Outside school, we eat with abandon, watering eyes and lolling tongues, paying in paise salvaged from pockets, playing host, those who can afford it. But before we come swarming out the hall, deboning secret devotions with our fingers, take another look. There is no bird here, no view from above. And under the father's soft mist, we are only girls giggling. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Oh, thank you so much for reading. Wow. I wish like we could all clap and just blow everyone's speakers out, you know? No, it's really special to me to have you all here to read and have you all here to listen and have this little book out with this. I just love how red it is. It like breaks my eyes sometimes, you know? And all of the other two also just have great colors. You should purchase all of them if you don't have them. It's been, yeah, pump those up. Look at that. That's like Starburst colors right now, actually. Yeah, no, it's just special. There's so many ways to like write about, you know, I guess it's reductive to call nature everything, but it moves in such, you know, it can be a cute little bug on the sidewalk, and it can be, you know, a terrible hurricane, and it can be tied up and is tied up in like just centuries of you know, like imperialism and all kinds of violence, and like it's a really loaded concept. And I mean, that's nothing groundbreaking to say, but I do love just all the little ways it can slip, you know, and come into and out of our lives and our writing. And it's just something I'm always trying to be more tuned to. And I feel really lucky to be able to put this book together, for me to just be attuned to things, but also to maybe put it out and for people to be attuned to things that they're reading and things that they're writing, and just sort of like to have a moment of reflection, I guess, that, you know, I just put these in order, and I'm proud of the little order I put them into, but really it has a lot to do with, you know, just a lot of people putting a lot of work and care into the world around them in lots of different ways. So I feel lucky. Thank you everyone for reading so much. It was really special. And yeah, I think that's it for me, or I'll keep rambling all night.
Yeah, Hazel, thank you so much for hosting this evening. That was so wonderful. And thank you all for reading from your pieces. It is just such a delight to have seen them come through the first time in the submissions, and then enjoy the sort of just delight of publishing you all, and then having this experience of seeing how they hang all together in this beautiful book that Hazel carefully and thoughtfully and lovingly put together. I'm just so psyched to be able to do this with all of you. So thank you very much for trusting us with your work. Hazel, thank you for all of your time and care. Jacob, thank you so much for being the tech guy tonight. Hell yeah. Thank you so much to everybody for coming out. Thank you to the readers. I'm just forever blown away. Love working on this little thing and getting to share it all with you. I don't know. Thank you for coming. Good night. One love. We say that now. Jacob says that.
Oh yeah, that's my new thing. I say that now. One love.